Ambassador Ro Vega stared at the crystalline data pad, her coffee mug suspended halfway to her lips. The Galactic Concord's official seal glowed with pretentious authority, and the message was brief. Humanity is hereby invited to the first Deathworld Summit on Nexus Prime. Finally, she muttered, taking a sip of coffee that would have dissolved most alien digestive systems. Her aide, Marcus Chen, leaned over her shoulder. "Ma'am, they're calling it a political gesture. The other species think we're too unstable for real diplomacy." Ro laughed, a sound that had made seasoned Marines nervous. "Marcus, they have no idea what unstable looks like." The shuttle ride to Nexus Prime was uneventful. If you ignored the 3 assassination attempts by competing factions, who apparently thought humans would be easy targets, Ro had dealt with each one by simply redirecting the would-be assassins' weapons back at them with disturbing efficiency, then offering them coffee afterward. Upon arrival, the Nexus Prime Conference Center resembled a massive volcanic crater converted into a diplomatic facility, fitting for a summit of the galaxy's most dangerous species. The architecture was imposing: black obsidian walls, pools of molten metal for ambience, and gravity fields set to crush most life forms. Ro adjusted her simple gray diplomatic suit and walked in like she was entering a coffee shop. The first being she encountered was Warlord Krexither of the Dukor Empire, 8 feet of scaled muscle, acid dripping from his claws, eyes like burning coals. He'd reportedly conquered 17 star systems before lunch on most days. "Human," he growled, voice like grinding stone. "I smell fear on you." Ro tilted her head. "That's probably my deodorant. Earth-made. Want to try some?" She pulled out a small spray bottle. "Fair warning, it's designed to stop grizzly bears." Krexither recoiled slightly. Other delegates, the chittering hive mind of Zephys, the crystalline architects of Vorthan, and the psychic wraiths of the void, watched this exchange with growing unease. "You seem calm," observed High Architect Zenthara, her voice resonating through crystal formations growing from her head. "Most species experience terror upon meeting us." "Oh, I'm terrified," Ro said cheerfully, pulling out her phone to check Earth news. "Says here that Yellowstone's overdue for an eruption. Australia's discovered 3 new ways to kill people. And Florida just elected an alligator to city council. Compared to home, this place feels like a spa day." The delegates exchanged glances. Something in the human's casual tone suggested this wasn't bravado. It was Tuesday morning for her. The summit was about to begin, and already cracks were showing in their assumptions about humanity's place in the galactic food chain. The Deathworld Summit's opening ceremony took place in the Coliseum of Convergence, a massive arena where each species could demonstrate their homeworld's gifts. The Dukor had brought acid-spitting pit vipers. The Zephys released a swarm of flesh-eating scarabs. The void wraiths manifested nightmares made tangible. When Ro's turn came, she simply opened a small terrarium containing what appeared to be ordinary earth moss. "This is Bryum argenteum," she announced to confused murmurs. "Silver moss. Survives in Antarctica, the Sahara, and the vacuum of space. No special powers, no violence. It just endures." Warlord Krexither snorted. "That's your demonstration, plant matter?" "Sometimes the scariest thing isn't what kills you quickly," Ro replied. "Sealing the terrarium, it's what outlasts you." The formal sessions began in the council chamber, a circular room where each delegation sat in environmental bubbles suited to their biology. The Dukor bubble filled with superheated steam. The architects required crushing atmospheric pressure. The void wraiths existed in pockets of absolute darkness. Humans sat in standard atmosphere, drinking coffee. High Counselor Vextai of the Crimson Hegemony called the session to order. "We gather because the lesser species grow rebellious. They forget their place. They require reminding." Approving growls and psychic screeches filled the chamber. The Terran delegation, Vextai continued with barely concealed disdain, "may observe and learn how true predators maintain order." Ro raised her hand. "Quick question, when you say maintain order, do you mean like how we domesticated wolves into purse dogs? Or more like how we accidentally created antibiotic-resistant superbugs while trying to cure minor infections?" The chamber fell silent. "Because we've got experience with both approaches," she continued conversationally. Though I should mention, the superbug thing was kind of an accident. We're much more effective when we're trying. Marcus leaned toward her mum. Maybe dial it back a notch. This is dialed back, Marcus. Architect Zenthara's crystalline form chimed with uncertainty. Your species speaks of creating plagues, as if discussing weather patterns. Well, we did weaponize weather. 2, Ro admitted. Cloud seeding, atmospheric manipulation, artificial hurricanes. But we mostly use those for farming now. Terraform hostile worlds, you know, make the uninhabitable habitable. The delegates were beginning to look unsettled. The beings who had spent eons being the galaxy's bogeymen were starting to realize something unsettling. Tell me, human Vega, Crexither leaned forward, acid literally steaming from his excitement. What is your world's greatest predator? Ro considered this seriously. Honestly, probably humans. We eliminated most of the competition pretty early on. Oh, except for things like box jellyfish, blue-ringed octopi, and hippos. But even those are scared of us now. She paused thoughtfully. Though I guess technically, our greatest predator is probably our own anxiety. That kills more of us than anything else. The silence stretched uncomfortably long. Asterisk by the second day, word had spread throughout the summit about the unsettling human delegation. Ro Vega had somehow made the Void Wraiths nervous simply by describing Earth's weather patterns, and her casual mention of nuclear winter as a cooling strategy had caused the Crimson Hegemony's War Council to request additional security. The morning session focused on territorial disputes. Each species presented their approach to conquest. The Ducor showed footage of glass-bombed worlds. The architects displayed planets converted into crystal formations. The Void Wraiths shared psychic recordings of civilizations driven to madness. When Ro's turn came, she pulled up a simple star chart. This is the Kepler 440 system. Beautiful worlds. But the locals were having some political differences. Civil war, genocide, the usual Tuesday stuff. She clicked to the next slide. So we sent in one negotiator. One, Crexither scoffed, against an entire system. Dr. Elena Vasquez, xenopsychologist. She ended the war in 6 weeks without firing a shot. Impossible, hissed Counselor Vextai. No single being could. She convinced them their conflict was based on a mistranslation in their founding documents. Turns out their holy war was actually about proper sandwich preparation. They'd been slaughtering each other for 3 centuries over whether condiments go on top or bottom. The chamber erupted in confused chatter. The point is, Ro continued, we don't usually need to destroy civilizations. We just understand them. Sometimes better than they understand themselves. High Architect Zenthara's crystals dimmed with unease. This Dr. Vasquez, is she an exceptional specimen, Elena? She's pretty typical. We've got about 12,000 xenopsychologists just like her. They mostly work part-time. The afternoon brought combat demonstrations. This was where the Deathworld species truly shined ritual combat to establish dominance. Hierarchies, Crexither, faced off against a Void Wraith in a match that lasted 3 brutal hours. The architect representative crushed a dozen combat drones through sheer gravitational manipulation. Each display was designed to showcase why their species ruled sectors of space through fear. Then came humanity's turn. I should mention, Ro said, standing slowly, I'm not really qualified for this. I'm a diplomat, not a soldier. Then withdraw, Crexither sneered. Accept your species' place. Oh, I can't do that. Bad for morale back home. She looked around. The arena. Marcus, you still carrying that old baseball bat? Her aide tossed her a worn wooden bat, Louisville Slugger, regulation size, with what appeared to be coffee stains on the handle. This should be sufficient. The Crimson Hegemony's champion stepped forward, a 9-foot nightmare of bioengineered muscle and weaponized bone spurs. Its first swing could have decapitated a small tree. Ro stepped aside, let the creature overextend, and brought the bat down on its knee with surgical precision. The fight lasted 11 seconds. As the champion writhed on the ground, Ro examined her bat for damage. Good. I was worried about the coffee stains affecting the wood grain. The arena was dead silent. ***. The emergency session convened at midnight, Nexus Prime Time. The Deathworld delegates huddled in their respective environmental bubbles. But the usual predatory confidence had evaporated. In its place was something none of them had experienced. In millennia, uncertainty. "The humans are not what they appear," whispered Architect Zenthara, her crystalline form flickering with nervous energy. "Our intelligence reports indicated primitive emotional creatures. Primitive?" Warlord Crexither's acid drool had slowed to a concerned trickle. She defeated Gorthmak with a stick of wood. A stick of wood. Counselor Vextai pulled up holographic displays. "I've been reviewing their historical data. In the past century alone, they've survived 2 world wars, a dozen extinction-level plagues, climate shifts that would sterilize most worlds, and something called social media." "What's social media?" asked a void wraith. "Information warfare, conducted by civilians for entertainment." The collective shudder was audible. High Counselor Vextai continued scrolling through data. "Look at this. They regularly inject themselves with weakened diseases to build immunity. They consume ethanol, a poison, for relaxation. They've turned survival into recreation. They call it extreme sports. I researched their representative." Crexither admitted quietly, "Ambassador Vega isn't even military. She's classified as diplomatic corps with anxiety management experience." "What does that mean?" "She counsels other humans on how to handle stress." The silence stretched uncomfortably. Meanwhile, in the human delegation's quarters, Ro was video calling her daughter on Earth. "Mom, how's the scary alien summit going?" 8-year-old Sarah asked, barely looking up from her homework. "Pretty good, sweetie. They're about what I expected." "How was school?" Jenny Morrison said her dad could beat up any alien. "So I told her that was statistically unlikely, since most galactic species have significant physical advantages over baseline humans. But that psychological warfare and environmental adaptation would probably be our best strategic advantages. That's my girl, remember. Violence is always the last resort, because it means all your other options have failed." "Exactly. Did you finish your biology homework?" "Yeah, I'm working on the extra credit. I'm designing theoretical bioweapons that could target silicon-based life forms." "Excellent. Don't stay up too late." Ro ended the call and turned to Marcus, who was staring at her in horror. "Sir, your 8-year-old just casually discussed Marcus. She's gifted. Last week she figured out how to turn a microwave into a particle accelerator. I'm just glad she's using her powers for homework." A soft chime indicated an incoming message. The Deathworld Summit's organizing committee requested an immediate meeting with the human delegation. "Think they want to kick us out?" Marcus asked. Ro checked her coffee supply and sighed. "Marcus, they don't want to kick us out. That would require them to admit they made a mistake inviting us in the first place." She paused, considering. "No, they want to understand us, which is much, much worse for everyone involved." "Should I prepare our departure shuttle?" "Not yet, but maybe. Draft a resignation letter. I have a feeling tomorrow's going to be interesting." The final day of the Deathworld Summit convened in the Chamber of Final Judgment, a ceremonial space where the galaxy's apex predators traditionally made declarations that would reshape star systems. But today, the apex predators looked distinctly uncomfortable. Ro entered carrying 2 cups of coffee and offered one to Warlord Crexither. "Triple shot, no sugar. Figured you might need the caffeine." The massive reptilian stared at the cup suspiciously. "Is this safe for my biology?" "Probably not. But you guys invited us here to see what makes us dangerous, right?" High Counselor Vextai called the session to order with noticeably less authority than 3 days prior. "The summit concludes today. We must address recent developments." "You mean the part where you realized we're not the cute, harmless species you thought?" Ro asked pleasantly. "Your species has demonstrated capabilities that were not anticipated." Architect Zenthara admitted, her crystal structure dimmer than usual. "Oh, we haven't demonstrated anything yet," Ro replied. "This has been us being polite." The delegates exchanged alarmed glances. Counselor Vextai leaned forward. "What would impolite look like?" Ro considered this seriously. "Well, you'd probably start by seeing Dr. Chen here instead of me." Marcus looked up from his tablet. "Ma'am, I'm just a research assistant." Marcus has 3 doctorate degrees in xenobiology, strategic psychology, and applied memetics. He's also a former Marine sniper, but we don't usually mention that in diplomatic settings. The mild-mannered aide suddenly looked significantly more dangerous. The thing is, Ro continued, Earth didn't send its warriors to the summit. We sent our diplomats. Because we learned a long time ago that the scariest thing about humans isn't how well we fight it, as how well we understand you. She gestured to her tablet. I've got psychological profiles on every species represented here. Your fears, your cultural blind spots, your historical traumas. 3 days of conversation, and I could probably convince half your species to switch sides without firing a shot. You're bluffing, Crexither growled, but his acid drip had stopped entirely. Crexither, you're not a warlord because you enjoy violence. You're a warlord because your society measures worth through conquest, and you're terrified of being considered worthless. Your entire species mistakes fear for respect, which is why you've never managed sustainable peace with anyone. The chamber fell silent as the accuracy of this assessment sank in. Architect Zenthara, your people turn everything into crystal because you're desperately trying to create permanence. In a universe where nothing lasts, it's not domination, it's existential anxiety made manifest. The crystalline being's structure flickered rapidly, and the void wraiths exist in darkness because they're afraid of being seen clearly. Your psychic attacks aren't weapons, they're defense mechanisms. One by one, the galaxy's most feared species began to realize they were having therapy with a human diplomat who had just casually dismantled millennia of their self-perception. So here's what's going to happen, Ro said, finishing her coffee. You're going to go back to your respective territories and think very carefully about whether you want humans as allies or, well, whether you want to find out what we're like when we stop being diplomatic. She stood up, straightening her simple gray suit. Oh, and next time you want to invite Earth to something, maybe send a fruit basket first. We appreciate good manners. As the human delegation left the chamber, the remaining Deathworld species sat in stunned silence, each contemplating the same terrifying realization. They had invited humanity to demonstrate their place in the galactic hierarchy. Instead, humanity had quietly demonstrated that the hierarchy itself was irrelevant. Earth wasn't just another death world. It was the world that created beings who could make death worlds feel inadequate. The END**